What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including SmackDown announcer Greg Hamilton's heartbreaking news, breaking news as Drew McIntyre tests positive for COVID-19, as WWE banned the mention of Trump, is Vince Mr. McMahon in real life? A former WWE superstar has lost his mind, literally, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now our first story is actually breaking news as Drew McIntyre tests positive for COVID-19. Yes, WWE just announced this moments ago as the champion has tested positive for the coronavirus and has been placed in quarantine. WWE announced on their official page, Drew McIntyre has tested positive for COVID-19 and has been placed in quarantine. There's been no other details provided, but tonight the champion was supposed to face Randy Orton in a non-title match on Raw. He's also set to face Bill Goldberg at the Royal Rumble. Of course, with him quarantining, he should still make the Rumble, but he'll be out for at least 2 weeks. This is not what the WWE needs right now, but we wish the champion a fast and full recovery. Next up, heartbreaking news regarding Greg Hamilton. Greg Hamilton does a great job as SmackDown announcer, so when he started shaking on the 8th January edition of the Blue Brand, fans were definitely concerned. Hamilton responded to the fans' concerns tweeting, "My best friend, my wife, has COVID. I'm broken, I'm so broken. Tonight was tough. My fiancé has COVID. I'm proposing to her soon, but yes, I was not at my best tonight. I owe you all an apology. You expect the best from me and I should deliver. Tonight, I didn't. I'm sorry, she is my everything. She is sick and I'm not there." We all know someone who is dealing with the virus or know someone who is. Recently, AEW star Nick Jackson shared his experience when he was infected with COVID for 3 weeks in September. Crazy to think that there's still COVID deniers out there in the world. I had a pretty bad case of COVID in early September that kept me bedridden for nearly 3 weeks. I couldn't taste or smell for 2.5 months. At one point, my whole body had hives on it, and my doctor said that there was definitely from COVID. Even after he returned from his recovery, Nick found himself dealing with the virus's after effects. Matt had to do the majority of the work and matches once I returned safely because I couldn't catch my breath. My cardio is finally back, but it took months to finally feel like myself again. Let's protect each other and wear a mask. We want to wish Greg's soon-to-be fiancé a fast and full recovery. Next up, why hasn't the WWE mentioned Donald Trump? Now, it's well known that the McMahon family has close ties with former President Donald Trump, with Linda McMahon having served as the head of the Small Business Administration during the WWE Hall of Famer Trump's early years in the office, and later as the chairperson of a pro-Trump fundraising group. So why hasn't the WWE mentioned Trump on television? During an episode of the Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer mused, "Ever since Trump got elected, they've tried to stay on the fence because they know their audience is very heavily skewed Mexican-American and heavily skewed African-American and lower income. And a lot of their audience didn't like Trump, and even though they personally did, it was like, we never talk about Trump. Not on the website, nothing, never. They never talk about Trump." The reality is that the WWE traditionally avoids politics on its television shows as the WWE views itself as entertainment. Granted, the WWE works to promote civic activities such as voting campaigns and honor historical figures such as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, but when was the last time you saw a WWE program even mention current politics? Nevertheless, Meltzer feels there's more to the WWE's lack of mentioning or featuring Trump. That was a doctrine because they read the landscape. It would do them no good. They didn't want to rip him because Trump has a short fuse and it would take it out on them, but they certainly didn't want to do anything to support him, even though they did go to the office and get all those pictures taken with him, but nothing on television and nothing on their website. And Donald Trump has a history with the WWE, whether it's when he hosted WrestleMania 4 and 5 at Atlantic City's Boardwalk Hall, or the famous Battle of the Billionaires match at WrestleMania 23. At one point, there was talk of Trump appearing on SmackDown's debut on Fox, but nothing came of that. It should be interesting to see if Donald returns to WWE television after he leaves the Oval Office. Better up the security on that show. Next up, is Vince Mr. McMahon in real life? Is Vince McMahon like his over-the-top Mr. McMahon character in real life? It's often said that the best wrestling characters are just an amplification of a wrestler's real-life personality, a statement which has often had people wondering how much of Vince McMahon's Mr. McMahon character is really him. A recent exchange between Vinnie Mac and former XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck has people thinking there's not much difference between the character and the man. Not too long ago, Vince filed a countersuit against Luck after Luck sued McMahon for wrongful termination in 2020. The countersuit alleges that Luck defied his orders when it came to hiring league personnel. One of the countersuit's exhibits is a text exchange between Vince and Luck concerning Luck's pursuit of Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel. How long are you going to play this game, Oliver? You know there is no chance in hell for Manziel to play for us. I will not change my mind, so what's your plan? Vince's use of his catchphrase in a text is hilarious and has us wondering what other Vinceisms come into play during McMahon's business transactions. I imagine him in his office saying, "You're fired!" Next up, a WWE icon hates the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is not only a popular match in the WWE, but one steeped in tradition. Nevertheless, there's one major WWE star who dislikes the Rumble. During a chat with Fox Sports' Ryan Satin, WWE Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin revealed, "I'll share this with you. I won 3 Royal Rumbles, but I didn't really like Royal Rumbles because there's so much going on. So many things that can't go wrong because everything's gotta work out." Austin gave an example of the chaotic environment in the Rumble, describing his first Rumble in the WWF, the 1996 edition, where he was still working in his ringmaster gimmick. "I was supposed to be the 4th guy left in the ring and Rikishi or somebody gave me a clothesline and the ropes were so baby oiled up from everybody wearing baby oil, I slipped. There was a bunch of guys in the ring and I went out way early. I hit the ground and I'm still pretty new in the company at this time, but they're gonna try to keep me in the Rumble, so they're giving me a little bit of a push and I blew it." Austin shouldn't feel too bad as other wrestlers have accidentally eliminated themselves, something we covered in a past video. But what do you think of Stone Cold's take on the Rumble? Is there anybody that dislikes the Rumble? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, former WWE superstar Val Venis has lost his mind. The recent occupation of the United States Capitol on 6 January has led to a firestorm of controversy, with various people commenting on the deadly events of that day. Recently, former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger tweeted a video message condemning the violence, a message which former WWE superstar Val Venis blasted on Twitter. "So disappointed at Schwarzenegger, another human who sold out America to communist China. This traitor is of the same ilk as another American sellout, The Rock. These delusional humans rose to wealth and fame under American freedom. They are now pulling the ladder up behind them." That wasn't the only thing the former Big Val Boski had to say about the Capitol occupation. Humans were given the right to peacefully assemble by God. That God-given right was recognized as legit and enshrined into a written instrument called the Constitution. Criminals powered by Satan Jews dressed as those who assemble gee up violence. Fake news then takes over. There was also some other interesting tweets from Val Venis, some that we're not going to read here, but calling the Pope out and saying that he was arrested with zero evidence. Now, Venis is entitled to express his thoughts, but his blatant disregard regarding the much frowned upon use of all capitals could inadvertently turn people off from whatever message he is trying to convey. Next up, a spoiler on Goldberg vs McIntyre. Our fans are curious why the WWE decided to book Bill Goldberg vs Drew McIntyre at the Rumble, especially after weeks of rumors that Goldberg was being positioned for a match against Roman Reigns. In fact, Goldberg appeared on the WWE program The Bump and called out Reigns, with fans thinking it was part of the build towards a match. However, according to Sportskeeda, the WWE has a specific reason for booking Dollar Bill against the WWE Champion. A source within WWE tells Sportskeeda that Goldberg vs McIntyre at the Royal Rumble is what Vince McMahon wants, even though the creative team doesn't. Vince thinks this match will propel Drew to the stratosphere of superstars. Current plans are for it to be a one-off. Drew retains. Now, there's always a possibility that Big Bad Bill will append McIntyre, setting up a title versus title match at Mania as Goldberg challenges Reigns. But what do you think will happen, and what are your thoughts on Goldberg versus McIntyre? Let us know in the comments down below. And finally, Vince McMahon wasn't interested in hiring Randy Orton. And last but not least, Randy Orton is a WWE fixture with a career on the main roster dating back to 2004. But believe it or not, the 14-time world champion almost didn't make it into the WWE. During an episode of his Grill and JR podcast, Jim Ross, who at one time was a key figure in the WWF's hiring policies, discussed how Orton almost didn't get into the company in 2000. He was, believe it or not, it was somewhat of a controversial hire for us. Vince was the problem child that went to military school, and Randy was the problem child that went to the Marines and got discharged. Big time, Randy Orton's past was a problem for Vince McMahon. Can you imagine a WWE without all those incredible moments? Bears not thinking. But there you have it, guys, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.